Okay, here we are in Chapter 3, Analyzing the Marketing Environment. Basically, it's we talk about internal and external marketing environment. Just like when we're doing the strategic planning, we're looking at internal goals and capabilities and matching them with external marketing opportunities. This is where we're looking at that. We're looking at internally marketing environment, microenvironment, and the macro environment. Okay, so the marketing environment, outside forces that affect the marketing management's ability to build and maintain successful relationships with target customers. There's the microenvironment, which are people close to the company. Macroenvironment is larger societal forces. So microenvironment essentially are people we know. Macroenvironment are things that we don't know, or people that we don't know. So we're going to look through one by one. Okay, macroenvironment, the company itself. So, all the different departments working together. Suppliers is anyone that we get things from. If you make cakes, you're people from whom you get your flour and your chocolate and your eggs and your butter and your cream and all that kind of thing. If you're a car manufacturer, the people that you get, the fabric for the seats and for the seat belts and the engine parts and the driveline systems and all that kind of thing. So those are suppliers. And the thing is that suppliers play an important role because suppliers need to understand your customers just as much as you do, because they're trying to create value and build relationships with you, just as you're trying to build value and create relationships with your customers. They're just as interested. So microenvironment, the company, suppliers. Next up, a microenvironment are marketing intermediaries. So those are people who sell your product, who distribute your product, maybe your warehousing, your distribution systems, the retail firms, financial intermediaries, people who provide funding for you. People who also work to promote your product, places you advertise, outlets through which you advertise. So those are all the people promote, sell, distribute your product to the final buyers. So let's go back. So far in the microenvironment, we have the company, suppliers, marketing intermediaries, customer markets. There's essentially 5 types of customer markets. Consumer markets, business markets. Consumer markets are people like you and I who buy products for our end use. Business markets are people who buy products to use in the running of their business. Chairs, desks, computers, rugs, paper, equipment, trucks, that kind of thing. And then reseller markets are people to whom you sell things and then they resell. Government markets are people who have government contracts, and then international markets are people to whom you sell outside of the country. You most likely are you might have one or two, you might be involved in one or two of these markets. Mostly what we're interested in this class are people who are consumer markets. That's really what we're going to focus on, are consumer markets in this class. You could also, we'd also talk a little bit about international markets, but generally speaking, we're focused on consumer markets here. Most businesses, as I said, probably only have 1, maybe 2 customer markets. Okay, so continuing on with the microenvironment, we'll go back again to review. The company, the suppliers, marketing intermediaries, customers, and competitors. Now we're on competitors. Competitors are people who we are in competition with. The trick is to find out what is your strategic advantage? What is their strategic advantage over your strategic advantage? What is it that your competitors do better than you do, or say they do better than you do? And is there some kind of, is there something coming down the pipeline that they're really going to challenge you with? All right, and then finally in the microenvironment are publics. Publics are basically any group that has an actual or potential interest in the organization. So financial are, obviously banks. We've talked about that a little bit before. Banks, investors, that kind of thing. Media, newspaper, television, internet. Government agencies in terms of regulations and protection. Citizen action groups are consumer groups that work to provide a safer environment for all of us and safer products and that kind of thing. Local groups are anything that's around you. Say that you're a school, and maybe the businesses that are around you. If you're a business, the schools and the churches that are in your area, that's the local group. General is just the general public. It can be anything. Like the general public. Anyone who's ever heard of your company might have an opinion about your company or your product. Then internal are any kind of internal group. And customers. I'm sorry, not customers. Your own employees would be an internal, because they do have interests in your business, in terms of labor unions and that kind of stuff. Okay. Microenvironment. Larger societal forces that affect it. So demographic, we're going to go through these one by one. Demographic, economic, natural, technological, political, and cultural. But we'll go and talk about them individually. Demographics. We're going to hear about demographics a lot in this class. Demographics essentially, it's an objective way to study populations and quantify them. When we say objective, it means it's without bias, and there are things that, generally speaking, there's only one answer for. You're either a certain age, you're either 42 or you're not 42. You're either 66 or you're not 66. You're either 12 or not 12. You either live in a certain zip code or you don't live in a certain zip code. You either have you're either of a certain race or not of a certain race. You're either have a certain income, not have a certain income. You either have a certain educational level or not have an educational level. Demographics are really important to businesses and to marketers. And there's essentially 4 different demographic groups that we talk about: the baby boomers, the millennials, the Generation X, and then and the grandchildren of the baby boomers They're all listed in the book as well. Because if you have an aging population with baby boomers, then you're going to be looking for different products, home health care or retirement or that kind of thing. Okay, economic environment, inflation rates, increasing prices, interest rates, all these kinds of things. Natural environment are essentially natural resources that you might use to create your product or distribute your product. Natural gas, water, air quality could have an impact on you. Wood, all sorts of things. So another trend that we talk about a lot in business today and in general is this idea of sustainability. Sustainability is this idea that you can provide for the needs of this generation without compromising the needs of the next. So we often hear about sustainability in terms of recycling and trying to reduce waste and that kind of thing. Okay. All right, macro environment continued. Technological environment, things that will help you either in the production of your product or also the distribution of your product as well. Political environment, changes in government regulations that may or may not help you. There's a whole list in the book. I encourage you to look at it of different government regulations, child protection laws, emissions controls laws, rules about monopoly. It's in the chapter. Then political and cultural environment, things that affect our preferences and our behaviors, our perceptions, what our basic values are. So, for example, you could talk about, clothing is probably one of the areas where it's most visible. It used to be that men wore suit coats all the time. Men don't really wear suit coats anymore. It used to be that women would always wear a suit to work. Women don't wear suits to work anymore, so there's no need to necessarily, I mean, some women do, but there's not as much call for them. Um, women wearing pants. Women didn't always wear pants. It's only been in the past, 60 years or so that women have started to wear pants on a more regular basis. 50, 60 years. It could be eating trends. It could be uh, fitness trends, all this kind of thing. Anyway, so that's a real quick overview on the macro and the micro environment. It's important that you understand what's going on all the time. What marketers understand what's going on internally and externally. And hopefully this helped you. Okay, thanks.